the speaker has agreed to speak to us from inside of a safe room where she needs to still be, because they're not certain that all the terrorists have been removed from their town, and all the missiles are still coming.
So, sorry, I just had to run upstairs. So, hi, my name is Noa, and I was born and raised on kibbutz Kfar Aza. Kfar Aza is one of the hardest hit kibbutzim around Gaza during the horrendous attack on October 7th. Let me just give you basically what happened there. At 6 a.m., Hamas started their missiles attack, and most of the people in Kfar Aza were not that disturbed. They're used to it. They have been used to it for the past 23 years. So no big deal, right? They just got up from bed, they went to their shelters. Each home has a shelter. And they closed the door and they waited for things to end. Sometimes it takes an hour, sometimes it takes half an hour. It was not supposed to be a big deal. At around 6:30, they started hearing gunfire from outside. And that's when they realized something's gone very wrong. That was 6:30 in the morning on Saturday, when a lot of families had their kids with them at home because it was Sukkot. A lot of families had visitors. Many of my friends went to visit their parents. And so these families were sitting in the shelters, and once they started hearing gunfire and they started hearing Arabic, they realized something is very different from usual. They close the door and they start leaning on the door. Some of them weren't that lucky. A colleague of mine who works in the same company I do, I'm the corporate marketing director for Nova. It's a semiconductors company. And one of my friends from the kibbutz also works in that company. She was visiting her dad. She was with her sister and her little children. He pushed them into the shelter and he closed the door with his own body. And he was gunned down right there. One of my closest friends, someone I grew up with, had his 3 kids with him and his wife. They were all shot. Their next door neighbors, a family of 6, all shot. A young couple, 30 years old, with 10-month-old twins. They pushed the twins into the shelter and they protected the shelter with their body. They were both shot. I can go on with the stories. There are names and faces behind this media storm, behind this atrocious attack. They were murdered in their pajamas, in their underwear, defenseless. They were completely taken by surprise. And the worst part is that they had to wait 7 hours until anyone started showing up. But it wasn't enough, because after 7 hours, they still had to wait another 24 in the shelters with no electricity, with no water, with no food, with no baby food, with no bathrooms, no communication on the outside world. They didn't know what was happening, and they were waiting to be rescued. One of my good friends told me yesterday, I went to visit them. They were extracted from this hell. And she told me, you know, Noah, after 26 hours, I told my husband, let's open the door. Put the gown down, let's open the door. There's no one left. They forgot us. Everyone's dead. You know, they said, never again. And it happened again. And that's what we need to understand. What these people experienced was of Holocaust proportions. And we cannot let Jews experience that again. Enough is enough. And now they have to rebuild their lives. Once they were extracted from there, sheltered by soldiers from all sides, because the war, the fighting kept going on in Faraza until yesterday. So they were rescued one by one, and we were following one by one and harassing media to ensure that they don't forget anyone and that they prioritize these people, that they don't forget about them. We still don't know what happened to many. We still don't know if they were taken. We still don't know if they're dead. This was a community of 1,000 people. At least 50 are dead. Can you imagine the proportions? If you look at 9/11 and you compare it to 10/7, sorry. In proportion, sorry, I have to go. There's a missile alarm. I hope I convinced you. Raza is going to have a Facebook page.
Go. We'll be in touch.
Sorry.
I think you
I'm
went.
back if you want. If you want
you're
to
back?
ask questions. Yes, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have a few questions. If we can take a few more minutes. Noah, what can we do to help tell the reality, and how can we support your community?
Okay, so first you need to understand, you asked my predecessor here, what's the path to normalcy?
Yes.
And I have to tell you guys, we're not seeing that right now. We are not sure there is one. The devastation, the destruction is beyond anything you can imagine. The entire place is destroyed. Houses are made unlivable. My parents' house has been completely decimated. They have nowhere to go to. They are 80-year-old people, and they lost everything they have. So what these people need right now is plain and simple financial help. They need money. So because they lost their livelihood, they lost their homes, they lost numerous loved ones, and they need therapy big time. They need clothes, they need computers, they need phones, they need cars, they need what we see as essentials, as the basic things that we need in order to live. They don't have any of this. They are refugees, and this is a humanitarian disaster. It's nothing less than that. And they need support, and they're getting it it's amazing. We're flooded with good people by the Jewish community, by the humane community who want to help. And what we're asking you to do, we are going to send you a Facebook page where all the relevant links will be on. And we need you to talk to your friends and your neighbors and your family and ask them to give. It doesn't need to be a lot. Anything counts. We're trying to help them rebuild their lives, and it's going to be a very long process, because let me tell you, some of these people have lost the will to live, and we need to make sure that they do not give up.
No, we appreciate you being so clear about that. We've just started our Israel emergency campaign. We will definitely be sending funds. Actually, one of the chairs of the campaign is on. Larry Haspel and his wife Debbie will be co-chairing our campaign. We've already had some incredibly generous contributions, including from them. And we've set ourselves a goal of raising $500,000
Wow, amazing.
in 2 weeks. Because we have that responsibility. So while that wasn't the main focus of this call, I'm glad you raised it, because that is one of the most important things we can do.
Also show your support on social media, by the way. Do not leave that arena unattended. We
Can
need
you
to
say a
be there,
little
we
bit
need
more
to show.
specifically, because
what
that
we
is
stand.
something that we can all do. What should we focus on? What are the messages? What do we need to say?
We need to ensure that the world understands that the Hamas is a terroristic organization equal to ISIS. That's the message, because they beheaded babies and they raped and killed women and they butchered people and they abducted elderly people who are with dementia and whole families with their children. And they're now keeping those children in cages. This is beyond horrific. They are modern day Nazis. This is what we need the world to understand. And everyone who is sympathetic to the Palestinian cause, while I do understand their plight and their issues, there is no justification for the way Hamas is handling people. This is not humane. And we need to stand with humanity.
That's very clear, and thank you. That's very clear, useful, and focused, and something that we can all take to heart and use. I got a text from someone who's not Jewish, a community leader, who said that this is not just about protecting Israel or helping victims of terror. This is about preserving humanity, standing up for humanity. We don't have time for more than one or two more questions. Someone wrote, and the person may want to unmute to make sure I understand this right, but it's in the chat. How do we know if our family members are safe? I can't reach all of them.
Well, that's an amazing question. It depends where they are. If they've been around the Gaza Strip and you cannot reach them, there's a good chance that they've been harmed. If you can't reach them in other parts of the country, it might be another issue. The main area impacted is around the Gaza Strip and within 30 kilometers of it. So anyone living beyond those borders should be okay. If you're looking for specific people and you would like my help, let me know. I'll try and get in touch. I'm in touch with headquarters of the guys looking for the missing and abducted, and they may be able to help.
Thank you, Noah.
There are several centers for information, both the Foreign Ministry, the Israeli National Broadcasting channel started a separate channel where they are listing the names of the people who've been identified as either dead, well, mostly dead. They're not releasing the names of the hostages yet, because only 60 of approximately 260 the families have been contacted. So that is going to be a little harder to get confirmed. But if anything else happens, that there are centers, if you need to, you're welcome to reach out to us and we will put you in touch with the right places.
There's a question that's really not for Noah and it's really not for today, but I'll just address it very quickly, which is, I've heard now from a few different people that one of the heads of Hamas has called for a global pogrom or jihad on Jews around the world on October 13th, apparently, which I guess would be Friday. I'm not aware, and we have the former head of the regional FBI working for us and very much in touch with the whole national networks, that there's a credible threat to Jews in America on the ground. We've seen these kind of media threats, social media terror statements before. Rarely have they turned into any actual security threat. But I can say that we will be monitoring everything. We have a national organization called the Secure Community Networks and it's very much in touch with the CIA, the FBI, Homeland Security, and monitors, everything online. And if there are credible threats, we will make sure that everyone is aware of them. But in the meantime, we need to focus on the actual victims who are, as Noah said, in Israel, and especially within the zone around Gaza, who've lost their families and their homes and their children. And we need to do everything humanly possible to help them. So I think we should close with the Israeli national anthem, with Hatikva.
We're gonna share a video clip, if that's okay, it's a really special moment. It's yesterday the Hamas threatened to start a heavy missile attack on the center of Israel, and so Israelis in those regions responded with standing on their balconies and flicking their lights and singing the anthem. So we want to share on an optimistic note, and Noah, we want, there are no words that can really help with this, but we want to share that optimism with you and tell you that we're here.
Thank you.
Yep. Yep.
You hear? Okay, we're 1 second. So we share that at the end because we have a long road ahead.